And welcome to RealAg Live, everybody. I'm your host, Shaun Haney. I appreciate you joining us here today on this Thursday for RealAg Live. We do RealAg Live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Mountain, and try to bring in interesting guests so you get a chance to ask your questions. I, of course, get to ask mine, and today is no different. Today on the program, we're going to be talking to Tim Close. He is the CEO of Ag Growth International. A lot of you would know it better by AGI. Tim, how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Glad to join you this afternoon.
Yeah, this would be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to doing a bit of a deep dive into the executive suite of, quite honestly, one of Canada's fastest growing ag companies. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics today, and I'm really looking forward to it. If you do have a question for Tim, make sure whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, just enter it in the comment box. That no matter what platform you're watching on, we'll try to get to your questions as we proceed through the show. So, Tim, I want to start off here, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't bring it up first. COVID-19 has really created a lot of disruption in the manufacturing sector. We've heard a lot of that kind of commentary to the Association of Equipment Manufacturers, AEM. Now, they're mainly talking about machinery. You're not doing machinery, but you're doing a lot of manufacturing. How has it impacted your business?
Yeah, well, it's been quite the journey. We from the beginning of this, we tried to react as quickly as we could to get as many facts as we could, and then as many perspectives as we could, and then distill that down to what we could do day by day to protect our staff, to protect our team members. And then and once were reasonably comfortable around the safety aspect, we'll also then start to look at our customers and see what we could do to be there to support them in every way that we could. So we're I guess we'll call it lucky in this environment. We have international operations, and it's a weird way to think about being lucky, but we have operations in Italy that was hit pretty hard with COVID early on. And our team there, a fantastic team that reacted really promptly and started learning how to operate in this environment. So we're just outside or in between Bologna and Venice, and we have three different operations there. And what they learned early days, they started to develop the procedures and policies that would let us safely operate. And it took us a few days, a week, to understand that we could operate responsibly and safely, and we implemented those. And then we implemented them across all 34 of our facilities right away. So we were doing really full protocols in North America long before COVID really hit the shores in on the East Coast and started working its way west. So it's been disruptive, no question. We as a management team across the entire business, we're meeting every day, at least for an hour a day, to look at what we knew and what we needed to do to maintain safety and to continue to operate. So it's been a learning experience with that continues today.
Yeah,
We're not done.
when you interviewed for the job, I'm sure one of the questions was not, "Hey Tim, how would you handle a pandemic?" Right? It's not something you can really you can say you're prepared for it, but until we
Yeah.
go through this experience, you're really not prepared for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But in many ways, like it's been interesting. It's brought our team members together in ways that we had never really thought possible or likely. I mean, we're now communicating in more often and in more robust ways than we ever have. So from that perspective, it's been really good to see. I've been incredibly proud of the team we have and what we've done in response. And so we've operated all of our facilities. We're operating them all today. There's been some national shutdowns in some regions like India and in Italy, but we got them back up and going as quickly as we could in order to be there for all of our stakeholders, for our customers first and foremost, and then for the stakeholders, our team members and beyond.
Did you say 34 facilities? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
that's right. Yeah.
Can you just quickly give us kind of because From my, honestly, from my standpoint, I was not aware of that kind of scale. So, can you give us an idea, like how many countries and like are those all manufacturing facilities? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, a combination of manufacturing and then distribution points and sales offices, but most of those are manufacturing plants. And so we started in Swift Current in Saskatchewan and started building our business from there. And so now we've grown across Canada. We have facilities all through the West and in Ontario, and then throughout the U.S. So most of those facilities are in Canada and the U.S. And then over the last number of years, we grew into Brazil. So really important from an agriculture perspective. We bought a small company and built a greenfield plant in Brazil over the last number of years. So essentially a startup in Brazil
Yeah.
that we built and grew there. So that's been hopefully you can. I'm not getting some a sound from here. And and,
It's all
and
good.
then yeah, through Italy, we have our two manufacturing plants and engineering office in Italy. And then into India. So over the last year and a bit, we grew into India and now have full turnkey capabilities in rice processing equipment. So a really important crop in that region.
Huh.
And yeah, so it's continued growth.
Tim, don't forget about Nobleford, Alberta. You have a
Yes,
facility
yes.
just down the road from me, Nobleford, Alberta. You can't forget about it. Don't you mention it. That's
Yeah, no, core part of our business, absolutely.
Oh, okay, nice. So now you're based in Toronto. I would imagine that that has something to do with a little bit about meeting investor relations and stuff like that, and capital and Bay Street and all that boring white collar stuff. But you must be doing an immense amount of travel to
Yeah.
cover all these regions. Like I'm always interested because previous to COVID, I was traveling like 50% of my time. What is your regular outside of COVID schedule look like?
Yeah, it's sort of the pre-COVID and post-COVID world. I feel grounded now, but the last so I've been with AGI about 8 years, and for most of those 8 years, I've been traveling pretty much every week. And our office today in Toronto is largely due to that international expansion. It's a little bit due to investor relations as a public company, but 95% of it is because of the international growth. So
Hmm.
our team members that having a central spot for team members to be able to meet from around the world as they come together, and then for our functional leaders to be able to have a base that makes that travel a little bit easier. It is a tremendous strain on the whole team. We're traveling all the time, and previous to COVID, I was on the road pretty much every week.
Wow. Are you sick of Zoom calls yet?
Well, it's this weird mix where it's really tough to be in this environment, but I am spending more time with my family.
Yeah.
So I've got little kids, so I can say it's from that perspective, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. That's a good point, Tim. I'm on the same page as you. Hey, Tim, Viren has a question regarding kind of the product mix. Viren asks, what percentage of AGI's product is in the ag/ag food versus others like biomass and forestry?
Yeah, so it's our product's 100% ag.
Okay.
We make what I would call food infrastructure. So that's systems and solutions, equipment and technologies for the entire food chain. So we're building equipment for the pre-plant stages. So equipment for inputs for fertilizer, seed predominantly, but for fuel as well, and then products and systems for grain on the farm, and then grain as it moves from the farm into the commercial network. So it goes to the local elevator, to a port, a destination port, and then it is either converted into feed or for animals or food for us. And we make equipment solutions and technologies for each of those different stages.
Yeah.
So 100% agriculture.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot for that question, Viren. He's watching on Facebook. So I'm always interested in how companies position products, market products, create brands. I'm really interested from your perspective at AGI. You've made a lot of acquisitions. So I think of West Steel bins as an example. Really one of the flagships in terms of bin brands in the market. You have this kind of house of brands. How do you make decisions on like having a house of brands? Like sort of compare it like to an AGCO, where they've made acquisitions, they've got all these different brands versus like it's just an AGI product. How do you make that and how do you manage that?
Yeah, great question. Well, we it's a bit of a mix. We look at those brands as being, very important. We love those brands. A brand like West Steel, we just love, and it means a lot. Is very relevant to our customers. That's 100-year brand, and there's a lot that goes into that. A lot represented by that brand, the expertise, the product, the support, and the awareness at the customer level of all those things, everything that's encompassed in a brand. So we want to maintain that connection, that relevance to our customers in those brands, in the markets where those products often, so the home markets for those products, and at the same time bring something more to the table from an AGI perspective. So the rest of the products that go with that bin around West Steel, being able to show that there's a value under that house, that AGI house of different brands and different products that we bring together, to be able to provide a full turnkey system. So we went from, our journey is sort of going from individual products and individual brands to complete turnkey solutions under the
Mm.
AGI brand. And so, a little bit like maybe a car company like a Ford would have, it's Ford, but Ford has an Escape and has a series of brands, and each of those brands means something very different to the customer.
Okay, and so I think that's a nice little segue here into where I wanted to go next, which was you mentioned Ford. I think a really good example in the ag space is John Deere. You're repositioning as an ag tech company. And so, as I was going through the website, I noticed that AGI, well known for conveyors and augers and bins, you're also carving out this ag tech space. Why that move?
Yeah, great question. Well, for us, it was this really practical journey. You know, we 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 had all these pieces of equipment, but and Egg's a bit of an anomaly where in some ways it's very forward in terms of technology. We've had self-driving tractors for quite some time, yet the rest of the landscape in ag has been really a laggard in technology. But we looked at our products over the last sort of 10 years and 5 years in particular, and there's just like every product in our lives, there's an expectation of having some level of technology embedded in that, in the products that we have. And we pretty much every product that we use every day has got some level of technology. I think my toothbrush talks to my phone. So it's just an expectation, and partially because you can, and when you can, you can do some interesting things with the data that comes off of that equipment, or just in terms of safety, in terms of preventative maintenance, and we approach it from that perspective, a practical approach of what technology can we bring, embed in our equipment to make it easier to use, safer to use, or more productive to use. And so
Mhm.
we've taken that approach, and that's led us to an IoT strategy where we're embedding sensors and technology into our equipment and into the farm. And then as we started to gather that data, it sort of naturally led to a platform that, as we looked at the very complicated business of farming, we said, well, how can bringing all this data into a platform and allowing our customers to turn that data into information in order to make decisions. So you go from um, decisions without information are just that much more difficult. And so there's a tremendous amount of volatility in operating a farm. There's I think it is the most complicated business to operate. You've got your input prices changing wildly, your product prices changing wildly, the production capacity of your what is this essentially your factory changing wildly, based all on things that are for the most part out of your control. So faced with a huge amount of factors out of your control, faced with uncertainty, you have to try to get as much data as you can in order to bring a level of certainty, a level of informed decisions.
Do,
And so that's the path we've been on.
do you think companies spend enough time thinking about the actual user? Like I picture like inside a boardroom, there's a lot of companies that they're mapping it out, and we're gonna connect this and this, and this is great data, and it's gonna allow all this stuff to happen. But then it gets back to the user, and it's like I can't use it. It's just so complicated. When you have these discussions, how does user
Yeah.
experience fit
Yeah.
into that?
Yeah. Number one is how intuitive is it to use? And we took approach. We just relaunched our platform, our user interface for our AGI SureTrack product, which is the platform that brings all this data together. And we took sort of a 5 and 80 approach, where whether you're 5 years old or 80 years old, you're going to be able to intuitively operate within on that platform. And so it needs to be easy to use as much as possible. It needs to be automated, that collection of data, so you're not inputting things. With
Yeah.
when you have to input, we all know this: either you don't do it, or you don't do it well, or you leave something out. And so we're trying to automate the collection of all data. So everything, we've got sensors in all of our equipment, looking at inventory levels, at operating levels, on the field. We have a partnership with Farm Mobile so that we can get all the as planted, as applied, and as harvested data coming right off the field and flowing right into automatically populating a platform. And for us, it's fundamentally driven by, is the data important to make a decision that impacts the productivity or profitability of your operation? And if it doesn't meet those tests, then it goes to the bottom of a list. Because you're right, there's a lot of things that are cool to do in sort of
Yes.
tech, but don't add any value. And we see it, if our customers are using only 5% of the platform, that's a big problem. It means the rest of it isn't that useful. So it's a metric we stay very close to.
And is SureTrack for farmers, or is it more for processors, or like a grain company? Like who's the target market then?
Yeah, I think this is a unique part of our approach. It is there's a product for each of the people within the value chain, each of the our customers in the value chain. So there's our SureTrack Farm is specifically built for farmers. So it's all of the components that you need to operate a farm, and from grain production to grain marketing. And then we also have an interface for a grain buyer, whether that's a merchandising company, a grain merchandiser, or a food company that might be buying their product direct from farmers. And that's we think that that connection between the different parts of the value chain is important to have a full operating system for grain, for grain production, grain marketing.
Hmm. That is very, very cool. Hey, I got a question here from Greg. Greg Stamp, who's watching on Facebook, seed grower from Southern Alberta. I'm sure he's a big fan of a lot of your products. Greg wants to know, how has farm size growth impacted marketing strategy?
Yeah, boy, that changes and is changing. Will continue to change. Farms are getting bigger, and it means what we're trying to do is offer a more robust support for those operators as they get bigger, and it allows us to do it, offer that even for small producers as well. So we now have our AGI service, which are trucks out on the road, going and working with producers, with growers directly, and it changes fundamentally the products. Products need more capacity, and or something like our storm treater. It means more robust, higher capacity throughput products. So it'll be every year is a continued innovation in order to look at all of our customers, but what is that new larger user, what is important to them, what products do they need, how do they need us to change our products to continue to be relevant and have the right solutions.
Well, farm size is relative, right? So what's what's large a rice operation in China, a 5 acre rice farm would be, it's a
Yeah.
massive operation
Yeah.
versus Western Canada where, we're, I don't know how many thousands we're using as the classifier there.
Yeah.
Those are completely different
Yeah.
looks.
Yeah, and I've been on massive farms in Mato Grosso in Brazil, and so
Yeah.
what is big in Brazil is it is completely relevant to where you are.
Yeah. Huh. Has the Eastern European, like Ukraine and Russia, has that like for a while there were so many of the short lines that were moving so much product into that area. Is that slowed down at all, or is it growing? Where is that at?
In Eastern Europe, the
Yeah.
general
Yeah.
markets continues to grow, continues to be built out. They've spent the last 10 years building out port capacity on the Black Sea in order to get grain out of that region. Russia's growing as as in terms of export capability, largely forced to do so because of politics, because of sanctions. But so that whole region continues a pretty significant build
Hmm.
out.
Cool. Question here from Lindsay. What's been the hotter seller the last few years? Big bins or grain dryers?
Yeah, grain. Well, I guess regionally,
Yeah.
grain dryers has been big in Western Canada in particular. And it's driven by again, I guess well, we've had a number of really late crops, and so that kind of makes it more relevant in those years. Big bins, though, there's along with the question around farm size. There's Western Canada. Canada has got a lot of small bins based on the sort of crop rotations we have, and so those do get amalgamated and put larger bins going in. Um, I think more and more farms will have a dryer on site though as well.
Yeah, good point. When I think of the grain dryers, well, there's been obviously a lot of discussion around grain dryers and the carbon tax and all that kind of stuff across Canada. I would think like, grain dryers are an example of a product where in other categories it's about size, just, more capacity. It's important in grain drying, but probably efficiency and the cost per bushel, depending on the crop, depending on how far you're trying to take the moisture down, that would be a huge differentiator from a product development standpoint.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that's exactly right. How can you do it? How productive can you make the grain dryers? But given some of the years we've had the crop coming in at such high moisture levels, it's all a necessity in order to have maintain the quality of that crop.
Mm.
So it's a matter of cost, a matter of necessity from a marketing perspective as well.
I got a text here coming in from another Tim. Wanted to know about the grain marketing product. What's that about?
Yeah, so this we think well, this is a really important part of our of AGI SureTrack. So what our approach has been to look at again ways to maximize profitability for farms, but for all of our customers. So we think this is a relatively revolutionary change for grain marketing. Is we're looking to put spectrometers on farms, on every farm if we can, in order for a farmer to know the content of the grain. So look at the protein, the oil, the starch content, which is wildly different crop to crop and farm to farm, and be able to market based on that content, so that there is a ideal end user for every type of for all grain. The content of all grain, high starch or low starch, high protein, low protein. There is a preferred product for every every different food processor. High starch corn going to an ethanol plant, for instance, or a protein isolate that's going into the Beyond Impossible Burger, that type of thing. You're looking for high protein pea, and so we're looking to deliver that market, or for have the farmer able to market based on the characteristics of that crop, and the buyers will pay a premium for that information, so that because it's more productive for them. So you get more ethanol out of the same amount of corn, for instance. And they're willing to split or share that productivity with the farm. And in a lot of cases, those premiums can be a very meaningful addition to bottom line for farms. So, as you can, now it just seems bizarre to us. 99% of crop really traded around the world based on volume, just on bushel. Some quality aspects to it, but to be able to do it based on a very specific content of that, and know that content, what's sitting in your bins, is where we're trying to get to. So. Yeah, go ahead.
So is the product, or are the sensors taking some of those measurements that they can, or
Yeah, that's right.
what's
So
going on here?
with the spectrometer on the farm, you can get that, or through our labs, we can get exactly what that crop content is, and then that content is uploaded into SureTrack, and the farmer can make it available for the buyers to see as they're
Cool.
marketing that crop. So in fact, traceability is a massive part of our platform. We collect about 150 different data points, and either all or some of those data points are very relevant to a buyer, and a buyer may want to know exactly how it was conditioned post harvest. Was there any alarm bells that went off, or any toxin development in the bin, or what was the genetics of the seed, or what was applied during the season? All of that is collected and can be automatically collected into SureTrack, and then used to market that grain, and that will go go into premiums that are offered, that are paid for the crop, for that knowledge, and it's I think it's going to evolve and change very quickly now that we can collect all that data, that traceability on a crop. I think what started out as niche markets, consumers that were looking for, demanding that information on their food. Now that you can do it, and you can do it on scale, it's going to be done, and it's going to be demanded more and more so. And whether it's a sustainability and carbon footprint, or genetics, or the content of that crop, we're looking to make all of that available in one spot.
I just caught on to your whole AGI system thing, right? You've got the auger with the sensor and the spectrometer taking the measurements. It goes into the bin that also has sensors that are managing and monitoring the quality. And then it's attached to the software SureTrack that's also helping with the market. I see what you're doing here. I get it.
100%, 100%. And then, yeah.
Okay, here's a question from Shane. He's watching on Twitter. What's the biggest challenge you are finding in terms of managing traceability through the supply chain?
Yeah, so with a product like grain, the challenge with grain is that you get commingled product. So, we can gather, and we have all of the data points at the farm level, and you can get to segregation of that product at the farm level in different bins. And you're right, we have the sensors in the bin, and more sensors being applied, so that we can get very detailed location and segregation of that crop and data at the farm level. And then, of course, if you pour it all into the same grain card, then you've got all that product commingled, and the traceability aspects can be lost. So some of that segregation has to flow through the supply chain. So you've got to be able to maintain either commingled with like product, so you verify it all before it's commingled, and so that you get all the same whichever characteristic you're interested in tracking, you put it all into the same category with the same crop, so you can maintain it through the supply chain. It'll mean more segregation through the supply chain, and but that's a challenge, I think, that can be met with technology, and the right systems, right application, without a doubt.
For sure. Thanks a lot for watching, Shane. Question from Greg. How will traceability tie into the other platforms like LinkedIn with John Deere, or Farm at Hand type platform, and or profitability data if costs are in there? And Greg makes the follow-up comment. It needs to be easy. It needs to link easily. So comment on that, Tim.
Yeah, so easy is the right approach. That's what, if I can use it and I can use the platform that I think it is the test for easy. But and that's the right approach to take. But yeah, that's the go back to my comment on automation. So we're automating the collection of all that data and able to get to, because we're looking at inventory levels of all your inputs, your fuel, your chem, your seed, your fert. We know exactly how much you've the system is looking at inventory levels in the tanks, in the bins, how much you've bought, how much you're applying, and because we're linking that into the as applied, the as planted, as applied information right off the field, right off the tractors, live up into the cloud and into the system, you get to a basically a live P&L. You know exactly what you're spending across all your categories, and it's coming together into financial statements built within SureTrack. So, we also have an accounting function which takes some of that bookkeeping function off your hands to give time back to the farmers. Ocular expense input. So you take a picture of your expenses, goes right into your financial statements.
Oh, sweet.
And we've got then a coaching network that is there to make sure that we show and we help use every aspect of the platform. So that easy and intuitive is the base, our base measures.
You mean I don't need to have the garbage bag full of receipts anymore?
Exactly. Yep. Just take a picture of them as you go, as you get them, and it goes automatically loaded into our Compass component of SureTrack.
Okay, all of this is super cool. When you are talking to lawmakers in Ottawa or some of the provinces, or quite frankly, you're all over the globe, how much of concern do you have about rural broadband and us making sure we have the capacity to keep up with companies like yourself that are doing, really trying to do all this cool stuff to make sure the farmer's on the cutting edge in terms of IT, rural broadband? How do you sit on that?
Yeah, so right now our system's using cellular to go up to the cloud. Cell to if there's Wi-Fi available at the farm, it can bounce back and then go into the system via Wi-Fi. But so we've built it based on cell connectivity and sporadic, based on operating in really low connectivity regions. So if and when you get connectivity, data packets can go up to the cloud and then populate the platform. But we are working with groups that are trying to solve the connectivity in rural areas. So whether it be Starlink or other groups that are looking for ways to increase connectivity, absolutely an issue. There's certainly regions where you don't have you just don't have those connections.
Yeah, so I get emails, I don't know, a couple times a month from listeners of the radio show talking about how Elon Musk is going to save rural internet. So,
you know what? He's got ambitious plans, but he's also leading the charge into space. So you don't want to doubt him.
He passed Warren Buffett in the world's richest list too. Question here from Lara in regards to data protection and ownership of data. You're obviously moving a lot of data back and forth, sensor to product to software, and farmer using it, but privacy. That's always an issue the farmers are concerned about.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, from our perspective, it's really simple. The data is all owned by our customers. It's their business, it's their data, it's all theirs. It's really simple from our perspective. We're an independent company, and so we're not. I think that's really important. The data is not flowing anywhere, being used for anything else. It's the data that forms the business for our customers, and it's theirs. Yeah, really straightforward.
Yeah, cool. We got a little bit more time here. I wanted to ask you about innovation and how you manage that. A lot of different brands, a lot of different products. How do you manage the innovation? Because I think you get together on the software side, I see how where innovation goes and creativity, and well, we could do this, we could do that, but there's also some product types like augers and conveyors that aren't necessarily like they're not techie from an
Yeah.
innovation standpoint. How do you manage innovation, AJ?
It starts with the voice of the customer. So as much as we can talk to the users, the end users, what is working, or most of the time they, well, as you'd expect, I mean, they have the best ideas of what needs to be done. So we're always trying to improve our conversations with our customers, with the people using the equipment. What are they looking for to make it easier, safer, more productive to use? So then those ideas flow through to our engineering and product development teams, and then the circle comes back to the end user when we get the prototypes out for beta use and get them as beaten up and used as much as we can in field in use, and then flows to the final product. So you can, technology is an important way to do it. We hope and expect to have more robust conversations with our end users, our customers, on so that we can gather those ideas, turn them into products.
Hey Tim, this has been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot, and I've really appreciated this kind of deep dive, as I said, into the executive suite. AGI, a lot of stuff going on, and I really appreciate you joining us here today on RealAg Live.
Yeah, thanks very much. I really appreciate it, Shaun.
Awesome. Okay, if you have any feedback, questions, comments, we'd love to hear from you. You can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or you can find us on Twitter, Instagram. The handle is @realagriculture, or you can call the RealAg listener line. It is 855-776-6147. You can join us here every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can find the episodes at realagriculture.com/live. And don't forget, today it is Thursday, which means it's the Farmer Rapid Fire on RealAg Radio. You can listen to us at 4:30 Eastern on Rural Radio 147. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Live, and we'll chat again next week. Cheers, everyone.